this is Psycho Juicebox.
Welcome back.
This is B-Views, the worst show on the internet.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome back.
To the first episode, I guess.
Yes.
Huh. Today we just got back from seeing the new Invisible Man movie. The Invisible Man 2020.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
Pretty good. Well, this is a spoilers conversation.
Yeah.
So, if you want to see this movie, then maybe turn it off now.
Yeah. And if you have, stick around.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
So, spoiler time.
Yes. Here we go.
So, Mike, what happened in this movie?
Well, our main character, played by Elizabeth Moss, she is pretty much, well, it's kind of, said that she's kind of abused by, it's kind of inference that she's abused by her husband. And
Was it her husband?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
They had different last names. I guess it happens.
Yeah. And it opens up with her taking a kind of like luggage and with all their possessions in it, and she decides to leave, and that's when she kind of escapes the compound.
It's a very long, intense scene.
Because, something's going on.
Of her, doing all this stuff to sneak out.
Right. And then, obviously, she escapes the compound, and somebody's supposed to be waiting for her, but they didn't show for a little bit, and then they finally showed, and then...
Yeah, her sister Emily.
Yes. Yeah, her sister Emily, and then all of a sudden you see in the foreshadow that her husband comes running up and screaming at her and...
Pounding on the door to the car.
Yeah, pounding on the window, and then all of a sudden he breaks the window, and... Well, before that she dropped her diazepam, which is her anxiety medication, and so...
Well, she used this. She said that she used the diazepam. She got it specifically to drug him.
Yes.
So that he wouldn't wake up while she was escaping.
Right. Yeah. And then obviously the window breaks, and then they just speed off, and that's really what.
Yeah, the dude punches through a car window.
Yes. Yeah, he was
made
angry.
Of, I guess, sugar glass.
Yeah. Something like that. He breaks it pretty easily, which shouldn't be.
But
and then they speed off, and then
our movie starts.
And then the fun begins.
Basically, this movie has her staying with her friend James.
Yeah, James.
Yeah,
yep.
The cop.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, I think. But whatever.
Yep.
She's staying with her friend James, so that he can't find where she is, because he's, I guess, kind of like a tech guru.
Yeah.
Like they say he specializes in optics.
Yes, he's like a beast in optics.
Yeah, he's like the god of optics or whatever. And he's played by Luke from American Horror Story.
Yes. No.
Oh.
No. Haunting on Hill House.
Yes, that one.
Yes. Yes, we got that one correct.
Alright. The best show on the internet.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, we'll go with that.
But, and pretty much throughout the entire movie, after she's hanging out with, James and his daughter Sydney.
Yep.
Who is her friend.
Yep.
And basically she just gets tortured throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
Until she ends up in a psych ward.
Yep.
Then crazy stuff happens.
Yep. Yep.
She escapes. And then kills a bunch of people.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Although many fewer than we originally
yes,
thought.
I thought there was going to be more of a kill count.
I thought he killed a lot more people than he apparently did.
Yeah.
But then the movie kind of ends.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
Yeah,
there
that's
you go.
it. Yeah. You learned a lot, didn't you?
Yeah. Mike, what was your... So there are a bunch of, like, scares in this movie. I really feel like this movie was mismarketed.
I think so.
This movie is done by Blumhouse and marketed as a horror film.
Which it is not.
And tries to be a horror film, and it is not.
No, it is not.
It is very much a psychological thriller that the trailers give too much away about.
Yeah.
Because if they had changed the title of this movie, made it seem like maybe it's a ghost.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be him in an Invisible Man outfit.
Yes.
Or if she thinks it's him in an Invisible Man outfit, because that's the cool thing about the movie, is this is the one Invisible Man movie, I think, where it's not like some kind of serum or like scientific discovery thing. It's purely just a suit that I guess it looked like a suit that's covered in cameras.
Yes.
So I guess what it was like the cameras reflect whatever's behind it, and also
something like that.
It's a sci-fi premise.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
But
pretty much. Marketed as a sci-fi, not a horror.
Marketed as something else.
Yes.
Change the name from the Invisible Man to like Stalker.
Yes.
Or Night Stalker.
Yeah.
Make it
something
like a
like
B-movie from the 80s or something.
Yeah.
And be like, is it a ghost? Is it an invisible man? What is it?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep, we don't know.
Leave it up to the audience to figure it out.
Yep.
That would have been really cool. And it didn't do that. And I'd say that's a notch against it. If I had to give this movie a rating, I'd probably give it like maybe a 7 or an 8.
Yep, I would do the same, 7.5 or an 8.
Yeah.
Because it does what it's supposed to do in terms of really what the basis of it is that he supposedly kills himself. And
because they make it out to seem like he's depressed because he left her and killed himself.
Yep.
Or she left him.
Yeah, she left him.
Yeah.
And then she's supposed to get money from him.
Oh, yeah.
From an estate.
Because, he wills...
Yeah.
What was it? $5 million
$5 million
in $100,000
increments a month.
Increments every month.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, holy shit, this movie.
Yeah. And then he has her really believing throughout the whole movie that she's crazy.
Yeah.
That she's...
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other issue I kind of have with this movie, is that the moment bad things happen, she's instantly like, it's him.
Right.
He found a way to be invisible.
Right.
Because he's an optics expert.
Yeah, she goes right to that.
And And
it absolutely destroys her credibility right then and there.
Well, yeah, because if you go around saying that a guy's invisible...
Yes, and he's supposedly dead.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing about it, because I feel like the minute it happens, everyone's like, look, you're stressed out.
Right.
You went through all this trauma, and you finally escaped. He's in your head, because he was super manipulative. Yeah. But, I think it drops the ball with her instantly kind of knowing. It's like, we all know it's an invisible man now, and right at the beginning she knows he's an invisible man.
Right.
There's, I think, maybe 2 parts where she's just like, that's a weird thing that I must have accidentally done, but then it kind of goes on.
Yeah. The movie does good too, though. It's the cinematography of the whole thing.
The cinematography is the best part of the movie.
It's kind
of
like...
Whoever was operating the camera is a genius.
Yeah. Because there's moments where they show the character played by Elizabeth Moss, and they kind of just pan out, and then all of a sudden it's an empty room, and then you have to see what's going on in the room to suggest that he's in the room.
There were like some weird, almost like I guess paranormal activity moments.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, hey, here's an empty room, something might happen.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those movies that should have had, even in moments where not much is happening, there maybe should have been little things in the background, maybe. And it didn't have that. And it's fine. Like, I'm not sure how much the movie would have benefited from that.
Right.
But I just think it would have been a cool touch.
And what they could have done more in the psychiatric hospital, where she steals the pen from the brother who is the trustee's, the lawyer, but the brother of the Invisible Man. And she steals a pen? Something like that.
It's like Tom.
Yeah, he sucks.
Adrian and Tom Griffin?
Adrian,
right?
Adrian and Tom, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, and then, she steals a pen from his briefcase. Like a...
It's a fountain pen.
Yeah. It's like an old quill pen.
It's a fountain pen, and it's weird. Cause...
And she tries to lure out Adrian, while kind of cutting her wrist.
Yeah.
And then what's kind of odd throughout the whole psychiatric scene...
Because she gets put in the psychiatric hospital because she calls her sister over. There are so many things that happen in this movie that it's difficult to fully keep track. But basically what happens is at one point, Adrian or Tom, someone in an Invisible Man outfit, in this weird black gimp costume,
pretty much.
He...
Pretty much, you'll see.
If you watch this movie, you'll see.
You'll see.
It had like those American Horror Story moments.
It did. It did.
That.
Where it's not really scary, but it's like, ooh, that's kind of eerie.
It had some cool jump scares.
Sure did.
Like with the paint in the attic.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Hollow Man moments in this.
It did. It had a lot of elements of that.
Like I feel like some of them they might have been references to.
I think they very much were.
Like with like in Hollow Man, I think they have that scene with the sprinklers. And the water's coming down, and there's the scene with the rain. And you can see the water going down him. Special effects in this movie...
I think they were kind of lackluster, to be honest.
I did too.
I think they could have stepped it up.
There was a lot of very obvious CGI in this movie. Which... It is what it is. It didn't look as bad as Hollow Man, so...
No. That's not hard. Not hard at all. So she obviously escapes the psychiatric hospital.
Well, she gets put in the psychiatric hospital because while she's meeting with her sister... because she breaks into the house. We're going backwards through this movie.
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, welcome to our reviews.
Welcome to the worst show on the internet.
Stick with us, please.
Oh, yeah, please don't leave.
We're trying.
So, Adrian kills the sister, Emily, in a restaurant, and then puts the knife in her hand to make everyone think that she killed her sister. And then she gets arrested and put in the psychiatric hospital because she's obviously screaming that her dead boyfriend / husband or whatever is the one who killed her, and he's invisible.
Well, back up from there, she goes to the house where Adrian is obviously...
Oh, yeah, that's where I was backing up from there. Because we're going reverse.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah. Hey, come along with a roller coaster.
Come on with the roller coaster. Good thing we're not making a movie. she broke into the house and found the suit. But in that scene, we see there are 2 suits.
There are 4 suits. Because when they go, let's fast rewind way back in the beginning.
How are there 4 suits? Because there's...
Because remember way back in the beginning when she's escaping, on the wall there's 4 suits.
Oh, were those suits?
Those were all suits.
They were just mannequins.
No, those were all suits.
Huh.
So there's more than...
Well, then there are 5, because there's the one that's invisible in, like, the...
Yeah.
I don't...
That mechanism, whatever it is.
The weird fly mechanism, I guess.
Yeah, whatever it is. They don't ever explain what it is, either.
I guess it's just a thing to hold up the suit while it's invisible, maybe?
I don't know.
Like, so he knows where it is?
Sure.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
And she does something on the little computer screen, and it makes it not invisible, and we see it's just filled with what look like
optics.
It's like web cameras and fiber optics and weird stuff. I don't know. It's like a suit made of eyes.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Pretty much.
That's my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah,
I think is
the gimp suit with eyes.
There's the cinematography, and then there's like the weird suit and how it looks.
Yeah. The gimp suit with eyes.
And later on, it looks kind of bad when it's flashing in CG.
Yeah.
But
fine.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
Now everyone's going to get to hear how I think Society is better special effects than every other movie.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, which it is.
I don't know. It's... Where do we go from
so we're back at the psychiatric hospital.
Oh, right, because she stole the pen from Tom, who's the will lawyer.
Yeah. Of Adrian's estate.
And she finds out that she's pregnant. And earlier in the movie, they talk about how Adrian wanted a kid, and they imply, like, a bunch of stuff about that. But she was taking birth control at the time. And later on, she finds out she was pregnant. And this whole time, we're like, oh, Tom talks about how he was manipulated by his brother too, and how his brother was a terrible person and he hated him. And during that scene, that's one of my favorite acting moments in the whole movie, is when he leans in and he just starts whispering, there's a way out of this. All you have to do is have the baby, and all of this goes away, and let Adrian... take Adrian back, and we learn that his brother is just as crazy as he is.
Yes, that's a good one.
Oh, that's
a good part.
That was some good acting on that guy's part. Yeah. Elizabeth Moss is pretty good through the whole movie. Oh, she's fantastic. Like,
you can just read her emotions throughout the whole thing.
She looks like she acts someone losing their mind.
Oh yeah, they're having a break. They're having a break.
Oh.
Okay, so we're back at the psychiatric hospital.
And it's after that, because that's the moment when she steals the pen.
Yes.
It's after he's like, just have the baby.
Yeah.
And then she freaks the fuck out on him.
Yeah.
And screams at him that she's never going back. She calls him, she says he's the jellyfish version of his brother, just as messed up, but without a spine.
Yeah.
Did we mention spoilers? Spoilers.
Yes.
And I thought that was funny. There are several parts in this movie that I felt like I laughed at that I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, there's subtle humor. There's definitely subtle
I don't know if it was meant to be.
I think so.
There's the one really cool scare. Wait, go back to when she was stabbing herself with the pen. Yes, she was in the shower stabbing herself with a pen.
Yes, and she went down like this.
Yeah.
And then obviously,
and he's in there.
He's in there. He's always there.
That's the crazy thing about it, is he's literally always
there. He's just there.
There are times where it just pans like to an area and there's nothing there, but it's like, oh, he's there. But is he there? I don't know. Maybe she's crazy. Who knows?
Yeah.
But at one point, she acts like she can see him just all the time.
Yeah.
Like she's sitting in that one like interrogation room or whatever it is.
When she's pretty much charged with the murder.
Yeah, after she is accused of killing her sister.
Yeah.
And they're asking her questions because she goes to tell her sister about the suits at the restaurant. And that's why he kills her sister. And they ask him all. They're asking her, she says, I have proof. And they're like, what's the proof? And she like leans in and she's whispering, she's like, I can't tell you because he's right there.
Right. Right. And you're thinking that she's crazy the whole time, but is he or is he not?
I feel like, again, it's called the Invisible Man. At no point are you like, oh, she's crazy.
Yeah.
Or it's a ghost. You know what it is through the whole thing.
Because you're just waiting throughout the whole movie for her to be vindicated.
Yeah.
For the
and that's
proof in the pudding.
That's what it really is. It's the whole movie. It's like, when are we going to get the catharsis against this terrible human being?
2-hour movie that shouldn't have been
my God, it's 2 hours long.
It was so long.
It's an intimidating runtime.
It is. Especially for a horror movie.
Oh, a horror movie.
Yes, a suspenseful, horror-ish.
Suspense thriller, I guess?
Yeah, I would say. More than anything. Sci-fi with the GIMP suit files.
Yeah. Oh, Invisible Man always kind of falls under sci-fi, right?
Sure.
I mean,
of course.
It's science and it's fiction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right, Johnny. So talk about the best scene in the movie, the action scene.
That's the part where the movie becomes an action movie.
Yes, it falls under another category, an action.
Well, because what happens is she's in the shower, she starts cutting herself, and he grabs the pen, and he grabs her hand, and is like, no, you don't get to do that, or whatever. And she goes, I gotcha, and just starts stabbing him with the pen.
Yeah.
And the suit starts glitching out, and it's like flashing invisible and out of invisible.
It's kind of like the Predator suit.
Yeah.
When he jumps into the water and then it's like fried.
Yeah. And it's just going in and out. And for the next, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes.
It had to been at least 15-minute scene.
Yeah. Where it's just full on Invisible Man beating the shit out of people.
Out of police.
Out of security guards and cops.
Yes.
Like one-punching people out.
Yes. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't get it. He's like the strongest man ever. It's like these cops are useless.
Everyone's useless. And it's like everyone, you can be like, oh, he's invisible, so they can't fight him. Well, that's true, but
come on.
There's no way.
Taking down one cop with one punch?
One punch knocking out or one punch killing all of these people. Like, there's I think it's in the trailer, is like the scene where I guess he grabs the guy's arm because he's pointing a gun.
Yeah.
And yelling instructions at him. And he grabs the dude's arm, I guess, and like angles his arm down to his leg and shoots him in the knee.
Yeah.
And then the guy's just on the ground screaming.
Yeah.
And what's great about the scene is it's like just wave after wave of people.
Right.
Because
it's just cop after cop.
It starts off with him getting stabbed a bunch of times and like kind of falling on the ground in the cell. And then a security guy comes in with a shock baton and is like, hey, stop, go back to bed. And then the guy, the Invisible Man, attacks him and then makes him shock baton himself in the throat and knocks him out. And then they go outside, and I think there are 2 people out there.
Yeah.
They point guns and say, get down on the ground or something. And she, like, follows orders. And then the Invisible Man just brutally kicks the shit out of these 2 poor people.
Yes.
And then after that happens, like, 2 more people run out.
They just keep on coming.
And it happens, like, 4 times.
Yeah.
Until finally she grabs one of the guns on the ground and just runs out. At one point, there are people at the desk, and they're like, hey, stop! And she points the gun at him and just goes, back down! And just runs out the door. And then we get the whole scene with the Invisible Man in the rain flashing in and out.
Right.
And
this is where the special effects kind of take a shit.
You have like it's better CG than I could ever do.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's a film company.
I mean, it just looks fake.
It does. It looks like crap.
Parts of it took me out of the movie, but my understanding is that water is the hardest thing to do in all of CG. So I'll let that part have leeway. It's just the effect with the flashing in and out looked very fake, and then with that on top of like water running off of his body, it was kind of but it's fine. It was dark.
Right.
I think they tried to cover up that CGI with the darkness, and it kind of works.
They tried.
And we get to see another poor guy shot by this invisible man.
Another useless cop.
2 more cops because they all come in groups of 2.
Yep.
Although I think one of the groups was 3.
Yes.
But they're all groups of 2 people, pretty much, except the one.
Yeah.
And we get one of these guys shot, and he, like, she runs over to him, and he says something to her, and I couldn't make it out, but I think it was, what did you do to me?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And I was so confused, because I was like, throughout the whole movie, there's these moments where, like, because at one point, Sydney, James's daughter, is just like, hey, we should do a girls' night, because I know you're having a rough time. And she's like, yeah, that would be fun. And she gets up off the ground, and the Invisible Man punches her in the face.
Yeah.
This child.
He has no soul.
Just full-on punches her in the face. And then she's all like, get away from me, you punched me. It's full of moments where people are getting hit by the Invisible Man and blaming it on her.
Yes, and that's the whole reason of the movie.
I think that was supposed to be one of those moments, but he clearly saw a floating gun, and he flashed in and out of existence multiple times while he was looking at him. He pointed his gun at the thing, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not what he said, because I had trouble making it out, because they had all the rain sounds. And this is another one of those movies, because it's Blumhouse, we have to have all of the soundtrack be
you're
like
listening
through
to
the
death
whole
metal.
movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like the beat drop of dubstep, but if it was just that repeated constantly forever.
Pretty much.
And there was something about the place where we were in the movie theater, because at one point they did that sound. And the speakers started rattling to the point where you could
you could actually hear
the speaker shaking in the theater.
Yes, because the bass was so loud. Yeah, and you could not understand a word they were saying.
Like that whole end part, I feel like this is one of those movies that would have benefited from a lot of silence.
Yes.
With like, because they keep being like, oh, I heard footsteps, but like you can't hear the footsteps.
Right, because it's so loud.
Because there's always like some kind of score going on, or like
yeah, pretty much.
And that's the problem with Blumhouse movies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Now back to the Invisible Man.
Well.
So she escapes.
She steals someone's car.
Some guy's car.
Because she shoots at the Invisible... Because the Invisible Man gets inside of a car.
Yeah.
Drives off. Because, doesn't he say something to her like... Because he pushes her up against the car, and he says something like...
Which we can't understand because the ambient noise is so loud.
Well, you can kind of pick up on that one, which... He says a bunch of stuff to her because he's constantly saying manipulative, weird things to her.
Yes.
But he drones on a bunch of manipulative bullshit, and then he's like, you just killed James's daughter. And she's like, what? No! Leave her alone! And then he shoots the poor bearded guy on the ground, and then the bearded guy says something, I don't know. And the Invisible Man gets in an SUV or a van or something and drives off. She starts shooting at him, and the guy in the other lane just swerves off the road into the car next to her.
Yeah, poor
He
guy.
gets out, and he's just like, what just happened? And without missing a beat, she just runs into his car, backs it up, and drives away.
Yeah.
And there's like someone on the phone in the car.
Yeah, some guy. Some like, lady who's talking to her husband.
I think it's his wife.
Yes.
And she's like, Greg? And she's just like, Greg's fine, and hangs up the phone.
Why? He's fine. He's got a bloody nose, but he's okay.
And then she runs over. She calls up James.
Yeah.
And James is this whole time is just like, this woman's out of her goddamn mind.
Right.
Because he's a cop, and he hasn't seen any of this stuff, so he's like, well, she's crazy, and she killed her sister.
Yeah.
Like, because they all assume that she killed her sister because of the email that Adrian sent, or Tom sent, or whoever sent. Someone went into her email and sent her sister an email that said, that email was like this long.
Right.
And it was all just stuff about how much she hates her sister. And at one line it says, I wish you had died instead of Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if I got an email from a sibling, which I don't have one, but if I got an email from a sibling that was like that, after I had just saved her from an incredibly manipulative and abusive relationship, I would have been like, is everything okay? Like, this is a really weird, like, 10-paragraph long email that you sent me.
Right.
And I just wanted to make sure that you're not, like, losing your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But instead, she's just like, I hate you, go away. Until she, for some reason, agrees to meet with her
and then she dies.
At the restaurant. Yeah. She sees a floating knife and then gets her throat slit. Yeah. Lots of throat slitting in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of throat cutting.
Like, I wanna say
that's
there are at least 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of them look very good.
Yeah.
I think all of them look
I think they look very good.
I think one of them looked obviously CGI.
Well.
But like the last one, that looked like a practical effect, I think. It might have been. Because that was a nice looking one.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because that's the cathartic one.
Yeah. That's the good one.
Yeah. Oh, spoilers.
Yes. Sorry if we haven't said that.
But what's great about that scene is, like, we finally get all the catharsis, because everyone thinks she's crazy. Mm-hmm. Sydney, like, the Invisible Man, drags the kid out of bed and just starts throwing her around the room. Although there's a moment, like, they foreshadowed the pepper spray thing at the beginning. Yeah. When there's the scene where they're sleeping in the bed together and she gets up and she has the blankets get pulled off her, and then she's holding the blankets, and the footsteps on the blankets are holding the blankets down, and then he walks towards her a bunch, and she freaks out. And then the girl wakes up, and she's like, I got this, and her dad's just like, who are you gonna spray?
And then she tries to.
And then she sprays him. And he kind of, like, runs into a bunch of stuff, but then is just immediately not affected by the pepper spray. Well, actually, I think it was mace.
Yeah, it was,
but I don't know.
Something.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
But that was weird to me, because it seemed like he was affected, and then he very immediately wasn't, and just started throwing her around the room and beating her up. And then James showed up. There's another moment that bothered me like that, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
James shows up, and he's like, what's happening? Because she calls him, and she's like, hey, you better get home, because Sydney's in danger. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, well, I guess the crazy lady, is telling me my kid's in danger, so whatever.
Yeah.
And he drives home and sees Sydney just, like, being thrown around the room. And then he starts getting the shit kicked out of him by the Invisible Man.
Right.
And then,
And Elizabeth Moss comes in with the fire extinguisher.
She comes in with the fire extinguisher and her gun that she stole from the security guard.
Yeah.
Probably half an hour earlier.
Yeah, for some reason she was so far behind.
This movie could have easily been edited down about. It could have been good, edited down 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
That would have been great. It would have still been good if it was edited to an hour and 30.
Yeah.
But I think it would have missed some if it was edited down that much.
You're not going to miss that much.
There were a lot of scenes that some movies do that are just like scares for scare's sakes. But it was a build-up. But it was one of those things where, like in ghost movies, it kind of makes sense because there are rules with ghosts.
Right.
But this is just a crazy guy. And, like, it seems like he would immediately be doing crazy things to her.
Right.
But he doesn't. He kind of just builds it up. And they play it off as, oh, he knows how to manipulate people because he's a genius. Like a crazy genius person. Which apparently everyone in the family is a crazy genius person. But whatever. Because she comes in, sprays him with a fire extinguisher, so he's got white stuff all over him, and then she shoots him 4 times in the chest, and then he just goes down.
Yeah, he's done.
And then they take the suit off, and it's Tom!
Oh, it's the spineless Tom.
It's spineless Tom, and everyone's like, wait, what? And she looks very confused, and then it cuts to a scene where they're in the thing, and he's like explaining everything to her, where he's like, "Yeah, found."
This is James explaining to.
Yeah, James is now exposition man, where he's explaining everything that we missed.
Yeah.
Where he's like, so it turns out it was Tom in the suit all along.
Yeah.
And we found Adrian beaten up and like. It looked like they broke down a wall.
Yeah,
it looked like he was
somewhere.
walled into somewhere in the basement.
Right.
Which she had been in.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
Yeah.
Whatever. He was walled into the basement and chained up. I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
Because I thought they made a point of showing a scene where they break down a wall and he's behind it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I guess, Black Cat style.
Yeah, I guess.
But then she's all like, no, it was Adrian all along.
Yep.
And he's just like, please don't tell people that.
Yep.
Because you're on your way out of here.
Right.
And they're not going to release you if you say that.
Yep.
And then it cuts to a scene. Oh, maybe it doesn't cut. Maybe there's more build-up. Because at that point, we're like, oh, the movie's going to end. And then there's 10 minutes left of the movie.
It's like, oh my god, there's more.
It Dark Knighted, where it's just like, oh, here's the end. Nope, here's the end.
Yeah.
Except in Dark Knight, they did it halfway through the movie.
Right. Pretty much. Yeah.
So, she goes over to his place, and she's just like, yeah, I'll be with you, but if you want to be in this kid's life, you have to admit everything you did.
Right. All
the bad things, including that you were the Invisible Man, because she's dead set that he was the Invisible Man.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was boarded up in a wall in the basement, and everything like that. Whatever. And he says that goes back and forth for a while, and then she's like, I need to go, like...
Well, he goes up to her, and then he says, surprise. Because backtrack, she calls up his phone in the house, in James's house, and remember he's in the attic?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she calls...
Yeah, she calls Adrian's phone.
Yeah, and then he sends, obviously, a text saying, surprise.
Well, she calls his phone, and she hears the vibrating from upstairs, so she goes into the attic, and that's the attic scene with the paint.
Yeah.
She goes up to the attic, and like finds, because earlier now we're going backwards in the movie again.
That's fine.
It's okay. People don't have to understand what we're talking
No,
about.
no, it's okay.
But she is in the attic, and earlier she had a job interview, and he's like, hey, let's see some of your work, because apparently she's an architect.
Yeah.
I didn't get that at the time.
Nope.
But she's an architect, so he's like, let me see some of your work, like the blueprints and stuff. And she's like, sure, and she opens up her portfolio, and nothing's there.
Nothing's there.
And she's like, I don't know what's happening, and then she passes out, apparently from diazepine. And then she's like, I don't have diazepine, because she lost the bottle.
Yes.
They made a good point of making sure she dropped the bottle, which I don't understand why she would have. I think that was just to show the diazepine.
Yes.
But for some reason, she takes it with her from the house, because she was hiding it under the mattress. For some reason, she takes it out of the house, brings it with her, brings it all the way to takes it all the way to the car with Emily, and then drops it outside of the car with Emily.
Yep.
And then the doctor calls her and is like, oh, you passed out because of diazepine. Also, and she like puts down the phone because she goes into the bathroom, and the diazepine is sitting there on the thing with bloody fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
And then that's when she goes and yells at Tom, and Tom says that he was manipulated. By
Adrian.
And then we're in the attic.
Yeah.
In the attic, she finds those blueprints, and there were some car keys up there too, but I don't know what that was from. They never really said anything about it.
Nope, never did.
The blueprints, Adrian's phone. There was something else there, I thought, but oh well. It must not have been that important.
No. Like half of the shit.
And then Adrian's phone gets a text from an unknown number, and it just says surprise, and she goes over and looks down the attic hole, and then she just dumps over paint, and he's right there. Right next to her face, now covered in paint.
Right.
And then he just like runs away and knocks down the ladder and stuff. And apparently washes off all of the paint in the sink within 10 seconds. Or whatever. Anyway, we're back at the end.
Yes. Going back.
I guess that's supposed to be the evidence for Adrian was doing it.
Yes.
But it could have easily been Tom that whole time still.
Could have been.
Because it was from an unknown number.
Could have been.
If Tom just like, because if we go by the assumption that Tom, anyway, with the end, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, with the end of the movie, he leans in and says something where he's just like, I was wrong and stuff like that, but like, I promised you, I wasn't the Invisible Man the whole time. And she's like, I've got to go do something in the bathroom. And then we cut to outside, and we see that she's wired, and James is listening in.
Yep.
And then it cuts back, and he's just like sitting there at the table, and we see him pick up a knife and struggle against it, and then slit his own throat.
Yep. And it's a pretty nice throat cut too.
It's a pretty cool graphic scene.
Absolutely. It's a good one too.
Yep. And then we just see her walk back in and like freak out and call 911, and then she looks up. She's like, there's a camera looking in on the dining room, and then she goes out of frame of the camera and just like stops and is just deadpan.
Yep.
And then James comes in and is like, oh my god, what happened? And she's like, he killed himself. And they go outside, and he like looks down, and she's carrying her bag that she had, and it's open, and the Invisible Man suit is inside of the bag.
Yeah, there it is.
And he looks at her, and he's like, oh my god, I don't. he says something like, you never intended to catch him admitting, did you? And she says something. I don't remember.
Yeah, something.
It was a
pretty much like no.
It was like
pretty much.
It was like no, but she said something kind of snarky, and then she's like, well, he's like, what happened in there? And she goes, what did it sound like happened? And there's like a pause, and he goes, it sounded like he killed himself.
Yeah.
And then it zooms in on her face, and she walks away and just looks at the camera deadpan.
Yeah.
The whole time, and then the movie ends.
And that's it.
And that's the end of the movie. And it was pretty good.
She got vindication. That's what.
Well, she got vindication, but like I was saying, man, it could have just been Tom messing with her the whole time.
It could have been. But Adrian deserved it.
Adrian deserved it anyway.
Oh, of course.
So it's fine.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, what if it was just Tom the whole time?
Maybe it was. Maybe.
Maybe Tom just went crazy.
Maybe he did.
Boarded
Maybe he
him
was
up.
just sick.
Faked his death. They never explain how Adrian faked his death, and they had photos of him dead and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe
it could have been just Tom taking the picture.
Yeah. Maybe it was all staged.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think he deserved to die.
Either way, they were both probably in on it. That's the implication of the film.
I would think so.
Anyway.
I would think so.
But like, I would say there's a good argument to say that Tom could have done it the whole time, and she just lost her mind over the time. I think that's kind of what it implies at the end anyway, is that she's like broke at this point.
Oh,
and I, like, as much as I don't want it, I feel like that was supposed to be a kind of setup for an Invisible Woman movie.
Oh, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch another 2 hours of that.
What if it was a 2-hour movie of just her murdering people for no reason?
Well, that would be a good horror movie then.
It's all of a
Not
sudden,
a suspense.
There's a slasher film about the Invisible Man.
Yes.
Which is, I feel like, what this movie kind of wanted to be, but wasn't.
But wasn't. It could have been better in the horror realm.
It could have been, but it had good scares. The other moment that bothered me a lot was there's that moment where she's outside, and it's a pretty long scene of her standing outside, and she's like breathing.
Yes.
And
that's a cool scene.
It's a cool scene, but there's a major problem with it.
What?
There is only one breath from him that entire scene.
Right.
And that is probably a 2 or 3 minute long scene.
Right.
Where he breathes only once.
Yep.
And the implication is supposed to be that he's right next to her the whole time.
Yep.
But there's only the one breath, and I feel like there should have been at least 2.
Yep.
But they don't. It's just the one.
There's one scene though,
and it looks nice. It's a really cool scene, but at the same time, it's kind of like, wait, what?
Right.
And that pulled me out a little bit.
Right. But there's one scene that's in the trailer that they never put in the movie. It's when she's sitting on the bed, and remember she's talking to James and Sydney?
Yeah.
And he's sitting in the chair. Supposedly sitting in the chair. That was never in the movie.
See, there was a scene like that in the movie, though. Where
yes, but she is alone. She isn't telling James and Sydney.
I think that they did a fun edit for the trailer.
I think that would have been better in terms of a horror scene. That she's saying something that they can't.
Because if I remember right, in the trailer, it cut to like her talking to James and Sydney about like he's here.
Right.
And then it cuts to like that chair.
Well, she says in the trailer he's sitting right there.
Yeah, but there's. Oh no, I guess that's.
Yes, they cut that scene.
Huh.
It would have added to the horror experience.
It would have, but I feel like this.
But they went away from that. That's.
This movie had some weird edits.
I think so too. I think
feel
so
like
too.
This movie might have been 2.5 hours long.
Felt like
this might have been written by the guy who wrote Batman v Superman. Who
Please
how to make a movie that isn't less than 3.5 hours long.
No, we don't want that. We don't want Batman versus Superman. No. No.
It's fine. if Batman versus Superman would have made a great 5-hour-long
Oh,
movie.
yes. That's the last thing we need.
What if didn't he write The Rise of Skywalker too?
Yes he
J.J.
did.
Abrams,
Yes he did.
That terrible film.
Yes.
Where he said, I would have loved to have 3 movies to work with, and we're all like, yeah. Everyone would have loved to have 3 movies to work with, but instead they did this.
Yeah, instead they did that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's The Invisible Man.
That's The Invisible Man.
Could have been better, but it was good.
I would recommend this movie to people who want to see a good thriller suspense movie.
Yes.
I would not recommend this movie to fans of the original Invisible Man movie who want to see an Invisible Man movie about a professor who injects himself with a serum and goes crazy.
Right.
And this is part of our Invisible Man month.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a whole 3 weeks of Invisible Man.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
For everyone who cares about Hollow Man.
Yes. I bet you can't wait.
I bet nobody can wait for that.
And expect it to be juddered. It's going to be going here, going to go there, going to go